In this video, I'm going to look at Viltrox's new APS-C lens, the AF35mm f1.7xf. If you are using an APS-C camera, a 35mm lens like this one gives you the equivalent field of view of 52mm on a full-frame camera, perfectly fitting into the standard focal length category. It's very close to the classic 50mm lenses we all know and love. You get a natural perspective without the distortion you might see with wide-angle or telephoto lenses. In other words, it's the APS-C version of the iconic Nifty 50. I tested this lens on a 26-megapixel Fujifilm X-S10. Let's dive in. You can see this review as a written blog post on our blog site, where you'll find detailed test charts on sharpness and other characteristics, and most of the sample images in high resolution on a separate site. I leave links to the blog post and sample image sites in the description below. I'd like to thank Viltrox for sending me this lens for review and testing purposes, although this is a totally independent review. Handling and build quality. This lens is sleek and minimalist, with no external control except for the focus ring. It's small and lightweight at just 179 grams, which makes it an excellent match for compact camera bodies like the Fujifilm X-S10. For comparison, here is how it looks next to the TT Artisan 35mm f1.8, which is a bit larger but shares a similar design. I tested this TT Artisan 35mm lens last year, which I did like a lot, but this Viltrox is a little bit more compact. The focus ring is metallic, smooth and precise, though it uses electronic focus like all Fujifilm lenses. Whether you turn it quickly for big focus change or slowly for fine adjustments, it's responsive. Plus, the internal focusing means the lens doesn't change length, and the front element doesn't rotate, a handy feature if you're using filters. The build is mostly plastic, but it has a metal mounting plate with electronic pins for autofocus and aperture control. There is even a USB-C port for firmware updates. The build quality is good for the price, though the plastic feel might not be to everyone's taste. All the markings on the lens are printed, which contributes to the plasticky feel of the build. The lens comes with standard plastic rear and front caps, as well as a plastic snap-on lens hood. There is no image stabilization built into the lens. The autofocus is accurate, but the speed on the camera is nothing remarkable. However, it's worth noting that Fujifilm cameras are not known for their autofocus speed, and the X-S10 I used is one of the slower models in Fujifilm's lineup. That said, it's still fast enough for pretty much anything you would use a normal lens for in day-to-day photography. Optical features. Let's talk about sharpness. This lens is seriously impressive. Have a look at the manufacturer's MTF chart. Such a theoretical performance could only be seen from high-end and very expensive Japanese and German lenses in the past, but now, with computer-aided lens design, the Chinese seem to catch up in the theoretical design when it comes to the sharpness and some of the aberrations at least. Let's have a look in practice. For the infinity sharpness test, we look at 3 areas of the image: center, midframe and corner. Here we can see that the practice matches the theoretical curves, as the sharpness is excellent. Even wide open at f1.7, it delivers excellent sharpness in the center, midframe and corners. While the corners aren't as flawless as the center, they are still very sharp. Stopping down improves sharpness further, peaking around f4, though diffraction softens the image slightly at smaller apertures like f11 or f16. Sharpness at portrait distance. Let's look at the points of interest for portraits at portrait distance: the center, the inner circle and the outer circle. the sharpness at the center and inner periphery is excellent, and even the outer periphery performs well, especially when you stop down slightly. Close-up sharpness. Close-up sharpness is also fantastic, peaking again at around f4. Lens distortion. There is a touch of pincushion distortion, which you can easily fix in post. Vignetting is noticeable wide open, but improves significantly as you stop down. At f2.5 it's just moderate, and it becomes very low at f3.5 and negligible at f4 and smaller apertures. Focus shift and aberrations. The longitudinal chromatic aberration is quite well controlled. There is slight negligible color fringing wide open at f1.7, which practically goes away at f2.8. The lateral chromatic aberration control is flawless, as no lateral chromatic aberration is visible. Flare resistance. You can make any lens look bad in this category if you try hard and long. This Viltrox lens, though, shows solid resistance against veiling flare, as the contrast in the image is good almost irrespective where the sun is in the frame. On the other hand, it can show some ghosting at both larger and smaller apertures in certain situations. Overall, I rate it better than average for its price class, offering decent performance for a budget-friendly option. Comma. A small amount of comma is visible in the corners of the image when shooting wide open at f1.7. Most of it disappears by f2.8 when it becomes negligible, and by f4 it is completely gone. Sun stars. Sun stars can be produced by this lens, but only at f16, otherwise I would not rate them as very well. Only at f16 the sun stars become somewhat distinct, but far from the best ones we have seen. This Viltrox 35mm exhibits a moderate performance here, as we see some focus breathing. It's not very bad though. Bokeh. The bokeh highlights exhibit distinct onion ring patterns due to the presence of an aspherical element in the lens. Toward the edges and corners of the frame, the highlights take on a cat eye shape, which is not unusual. In addition to that, some hard double-edged bokeh highlights appear, especially towards the corners, which may negatively affect the overall rendering in those areas. At close distances, this lens gives a very soft and smooth bokeh, which isn't surprising, especially with its impressive minimum focusing distance of just 0.33 meters, perfect for a 50mm full-frame equivalent. To show how the background blur changes at different distances, I took a series of images stepping back about 40 to 50 cm each time, starting from the minimum focusing distance. As you would expect, the background blur starts to look a bit busier at mid to long distances. It's not too distracting, but it's also not the smoothest bokeh out there. Now to the conclusion. Well, the good things are the sharpness, the size and weight, price, chromatic aberrations correction, and the bokeh, with some reservations. Things that are not bad but not very good either are the lens distortion, vignetting, comma, build, sun stars, focus breathing, and flare resistance. And actually nothing bad. This is an exceptionally sharp lens, among the best in its class. Its compact size and lightweight design are highly appreciated, especially on smaller camera bodies. The excellent correction of chromatic aberrations and focus breathing is also noteworthy, while some aspects such as distortion, vignetting, comma, and sun stars could be improved. They are not significant issues. As shown in the table before, there is really nothing to dislike. though not everything is top-notch. Considering its price and affordability, this lens offers great value for money and is likely to satisfy the majority of enthusiasts. Are you on a budget or want to spend your money on more than only one single lens? Have a closer look at this lens and you hardly become disappointed. If you are interested in buying this lens, you can support our efforts by using the links in the description. It won't cost you a penny and it won't affect the price, but it helps us a little. As mentioned earlier, this review is also available in written format on our blog, where you'll find detailed test charts on sharpness and other characteristics. I've also listed a few alternatives at the end of the article for those interested. Most of the sample images in high resolution can be viewed on a separate site. Links to the blog post and the sample images are included in the description below. Huge thanks for watching. Any comments are most welcome. If you liked this video, give it the thumbs up, and for more content like this, please subscribe if you haven't done so yet. Until the next video, have a fantastic time everyone.